Do people in Canada have cable, like other people?
We keep this up in the playoffs. I don't care.
And at Chili's. Is it a Chili's? At Kyle's?
Achilles.
Finally.
You don't know that?
Fuck you! Get this guy the fuck out of here!
Alright, well, coming in at number 5, I got Anthony Stolars.
Now! Jets are winning the cup!
Thank you for watching and listening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 80 of the NordCast. It is Thursday, November 28th, 2024. I am your host here, Nordic97, joined with Kata and just Carter. How are we doing?
We're doing pretty good. We're back. No Jack again. Sorry to all you Jack fans out there. I
don't know if there's a lot of them.
Yeah, they're probably all gone now because he hasn't been here. But we're back. I'm here. We got a fun little last episode of November.
Of Movember. Look at the stash that Carter's got going there. A little stash, better than mine. I got nothing there.
Yeah. He's got a little drawn on marker, and so do I.
All I got is a little pepperoni pizza. Anyways. So first off, happy Thanksgiving to all the Americans. If you're a Canadian like Carter, happy Thursday. But Carter is still enjoying the Thanksgiving fun by eating something right now during the pod.
It would not be a NordCast episode without me eating something.
What are you munching on?
We got a little tortellini and garlic bread, so we're gonna be munching on this throughout the whole episode. I know I just completely made myself sound like such a fat ass, but
No, he's not a fat ass.
You got to do what you got to do. Yeah.
All right. Well, again, happy Thanksgiving to everyone who celebrated this past Thursday. This will drop on Black Friday, but regardless, Thanksgiving's always interesting because you get at the quarter mark, I would say, of the 2024 of every season, but of this season 2024-25, we're at the quarter mark, and I would say, Carter, there have been some surprising teams on both ends who right now are in a playoff spot. So let's take a look at all of those right now. We're going to start off in the Eastern Conference, in the Atlantic Division. You got the Toronto Maple Leafs in first place with 28 points. You got the Florida Panthers in second place with 27 points. And then in third, the Boston Bruins with 25 points. So, Carter, is there any surprises there in that top three?
No, I think that's kind of a top three that you'd kind of expect out of that Atlantic Division. And I mean, you also can't forget that, right there in that Atlantic spot, Tampa Bay is right behind them as well. They're only a point behind Boston with 3 games in hand as well. So there's a team that's not too far behind there.
Yeah, plenty of ground there for sure. In the Metropolitan, the top 3 teams, the Carolina Hurricanes, the New Jersey Devils, and the Washington Capitals, all of them being separated by just 1 point with 33, 32, and 31 respectively. Carter, any surprises there? I just got to say it's probably the Capitals.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's Washington. I don't think anybody really thought Washington would be off to this hot of a start, but I think you got to clap it up for them. This has been a very good team this year. They've made so many good moves, a lot of good breakouts for them this year. So a heck of a job to the Washington Capitals there. Spencer Carberry has done a very good job of coaching this team, and I think this team is looking scary.
I want to give Charlie Lindgren a shout out. If you saw his little goal he scored last night, did you see that, Carter?
What a snipe!
That was a snipe. That was awesome. I have never seen anything like that before.
Shades of Evgeny Malkin.
Yeah, he really does look like Malkin out there. In the wild card spots, and again, these will change. Black Friday is tomorrow. There's a bunch of games. This will change. Your 2 teams in wild card spots, the New York Rangers with 25 points and the Tampa Bay Lightning with 24 points. Carter, I got to say, I'm not surprised that Tampa's there because they were actually a wild card team last year, but the Rangers being in 4th is a little surprising, although they do have games in hand ahead of every single other team above them in that division.
Well, I mean, they 100% do have games in hand there, but you also got to look at the points. They're a game back of the Washington Capitals, but 6 points behind. So they're not out of it by any means, but no team is right now. But yeah, this is not the start that you'd expect of the New York Rangers. Now, I don't know if we're going to get into talking about the New York Rangers here, which we probably should, but they got some guys on the trade block here. So
yeah, I was going to talk about. We can bring it up now. I was going to talk about this in our news around the league and all that type of stuff, but I guess we can get into it now. So Elliot Friedman tweeted out on Twitter. I think it was either Monday or Tuesday this past week, saying, quote, if I can find it here really quick, in the aftermath of their 6-2 loss to the Edmonton Oilers on Saturday, the Rangers made it very clear they were interested in making moves and shaking up their roster. Among those names included is Chris Kreider and Jacob Trouba, although other options will be considered. Again, those two really shouldn't be surprises.
No.
I mean, actually, Trouba should not be a surprise. Kreider's a little bit of a shock, I would say.
Yeah, Kreider was not a name that I think was a name that I feel like could be brought up if they were struggling, but not right here. I think Kreider's a big part of that team, and he's been one of their better playoff performers, I think.
Yes.
He seems to kind of I think he's exactly what you'd want in a playoff player. He plays physical and he gets to the front of the net and he'll score. So Kreider's a name I'm a little surprised about. If they were in like a situation of Edmonton last year, I think Kreider would be a name I'd understand. Because he has that value. But Trouba is no surprise. They tried to get rid of him this offseason, and I think obviously now that he's still on that roster, you can see it did not work out.
Yeah, he's gone by either the trade deadline or next offseason. It's over for him after that, 100%. Again, I look at like the Rangers as a whole. There's a lot of guys who are really struggling. Zibanejad only has 4 goals this year. Adam Fox doesn't even have a goal at all. Like the Riley Smith experiment has really not worked out, I would say. Vincent Trocheck only has 4 goals too. Just like overall, it seems like a lot of the guys are really struggling on this team, and it's showing in their games. They have lost 4 in a row, by the way, Carter. They're really losing games, and that's why they have lost so much ground in that Eastern Conference playoff race.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at teams that are outside of it, we're going to go in order here. So the team that is closest to Tampa for that second spot is only 1 point behind. Actually, there's 2 of them that are 1 point behind. The Buffalo Sabres and the Philadelphia Flyers. Is there anything really surprising about either of those teams being that close? I wouldn't really say so.
I'd say so, honestly. I think that, Buffalo's a team that I feel like we all kind of thought would be on the brink of playoffs almost every year. They seem to do so much in the regular season to just miss out. So they're not a huge surprise, but I will say I am surprised that they're only a point back of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then Philadelphia, I think everyone thought that last year was kind of a fluke, and that they were going to take a step back, but they've gotten pretty hot as of late. They've looked really, really solid. They've taken like almost every game this month, I feel like, has gone to overtime or has been just so close and just nail biters. So they're playing some good hockey right now as well. So, 2 teams that I honestly didn't expect to be a point back of a wild card spot right now.
Yeah, so of the Flyers games that they have played this year, 1, 2, 3, or this November, not this year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those games have gone to overtime in the month of November. Either whether or not they won it or lost it, it just seems like they are getting all the extra points they can. They're on a 3-game point streak right now, it seems. So again, even though like they're still winning games, they're still in there. And I also want to say for Buffalo, like if they win their next game, they're tied with Boston for 3rd in the Atlantic. Like that's just how close the Atlantic Division is right now. It seems like the Metro is really where there's like a big gap between the teams who, are the top 3 and then the teams that are kind of battling it out. Also in that playoff race, I would say Detroit, Columbus, and Ottawa are also in there too. Is there any real surprises about how those teams have started off? We talked about Detroit last episode.
To me, I don't think so. I think I kind of had. I think Columbus is the only team. Columbus has been they have looked unreal this year. Like I'm not gonna. Columbus has been one of the more fun teams to watch. They had an absolute unreal game against the Tampa Bay Lightning last week. That was probably one of the best hockey games I've ever seen. There was like 3 or 4 goals within 5 minutes in the second period. Like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah, not a huge, or Columbus a huge surprise, but for me, Detroit and Ottawa, not big surprises at all. Maybe because I think you and Jack were a little higher on Ottawa. I was not.
I wasn't high on Ottawa. Jack really wasn't high on Ottawa though.
You were though, right?
I was a little bit more than you guys, but I honestly expected this. I'm not gonna lie.
I will say though, LeBlanc was like asked why we were so low on Ottawa. I got my proof.
Yeah, you do. I just want to say Sean Monahan is the fastest player, or actually is one of 3 players now in Columbus history to reach 20 points in 20 games played as a forward. The only other 2 players to do it, I think, are either Rick Nash or someone else, and Johnny Gaudreau. So
I would like. I could bring this up when we get to Montreal, but I'm going to bring this up now. Cole Caulfield against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Have you seen the like crazy thing about it?
It was his 13th goal of the season.
Yeah, so it was his 13th goal of the season. Scored in Columbus, wearing number 13. 13 minutes on the clock, but I didn't fact check this, but the seconds was 26, which was his brother Matthew's number, I'm pretty sure. Which I'm gonna double check and fact check this because I saw this on TikTok, and I'm like, nah, this can't be real.
I'm telling you right now, there is some sort of omen. There is some sort of different power out there that is making all this happen. Because again, there was a point where the leading goal scorers 1, 2, and 3 all wore number 13. Like, it's actually wild how that has like transpired. As Carter looks that up, the other 3 teams who are, I guess, they're in the race, but they're kind of not. Again, it's so tight right now for the wild card spot. Like the team that is even the lowest down is only 5 points out. The Islanders with 21 points, the Pittsburgh Penguins with 20 points, and the Montreal Canadiens with 19 points. Now, I'm not going to count the Islanders out yet, but I will say that Pittsburgh and Montreal are 2 teams that probably are going to stay where they are. Pittsburgh just does not seem like their normal selves. Did you figure it out, Carter?
I was wrong. He wears 21, but it was 26 seconds left. So it was really close to being the craziest thing ever.
That would have been pretty crazy.
But yeah, no, still ridiculous. The 13s were just there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's pretty wild. Any thoughts on those final 3 teams?
No.
Kind of expected where they are, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Islanders. Let's move on to the Western Conference. You have the top 3 teams in that conference, the Winnipeg Jets, the Minnesota Wild, and the Dallas Stars, all with 36 points, 32 points, and 26 points. So it seems like there's 1 and 2, then a gap, and then there's 3. So, Carter, any surprises there in that top 3 in that Central? You got your Jets in there.
I think obviously Winnipeg. I didn't expect them to be here at all. I don't think anyone else really did.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I didn't expect them to be this good.
That's what I'm getting at.
Okay, all right. I thought you were saying they shouldn't be top. They wouldn't have been top 3 at all. I'm like,
no, because I had them top 3, but I did not expect them to be number 1 by a good chunk right now. They have definitely started slowing down, obviously, as I feel like was kind of expected. But another team, Minnesota. I'm surprised with Minnesota. They've looked good.
They only have 4 They have the least amount of regulation losses right now in the NHL, which is
wild. They got 4 losses in overtime. Like, you turn some of those into wins, and they're nail biting at the Winnipeg Jets right now. But they've looked really good too.
Yeah, Minnesota. If I can find their stats, here we are. Some of the way these websites are on NHL is really weird. Kaprizov is like running away right now with the Hart voting right now. He's 35 points in 21 games played. Carter, I really think that guy can get a Hart trophy. Like I think
he could too. I don't if it's not this year, I think he's well on his way to having a chance at one for sure.
100%. Moving on to the Pacific, the top three teams in the Pacific Division, the Vegas Golden Knights, the Calgary Flames, and the Los Angeles Kings. Vegas with 31 points, Calgary with 28 points, LA with 27 points. Carter, I'm just going to come out and say it. This is the most surprising division.
Oh, it's not even close. This is like...
You would argue all of these teams are surprises, except for maybe Vegas, but...
Maybe Vegas because they're either really good or they're a bubble team.
Yeah.
They're almost always in the playoffs, but it's just like, what Vegas are we going to get in the regular season? But when you get Jack Eichel playing how he's playing, I think they're a number one team.
Calgary, though, is actually like, it's wild.
What a story.
It
like,
really is.
Really turned it around on the verge of like, we got to tear everything down right now to now we're in a scenario where it's like they are looking like a good hockey team right now.
I think you still sell at the trade deadline. I think you still sell, even though things are going better. No, because Carter, I'm pretty sure we said this about the Flyers.
That's what I was gonna get at. I'm like, I don't know if I'd go full sell mode. I'd go Philadelphia Flyers sell mode. Enough to keep the fans engaged, but enough to where you're getting some draft capital.
Right. I agree with that. And I think that for Calgary, I think they should definitely entertain, moving on from Anderson, moving on from Kuzmenko, entertain moving on from those guys, but still keep your fans engaged. I got to give huge credit where it's due. Carter, I don't know. Like, I would say Michkov. I don't know. Michkov's probably leading the Calder race right now, but Dustin Wolf is making it look incredibly close.
Oh yeah.
Some may even argue that he's ahead of Michkov, and I wouldn't put it past him either. He has been great this year. He has awesome numbers. I don't know if you have him pulled up, but
yeah, I'm getting them pulled up right now. So he has started in 12 games. He's 8-3 with a 2.41 goals against average and a 9.21 save percentage as a rookie.
Yeah, that's very impressive. You look in terms of save percentages, I'm pretty sure he's tied for 6th in the league.
Yeah, he has looked just unbelievable. I'm a really big fan of Dustin Wolf. I have him in fantasy. He's carried me. But yeah, no, he has looked just really good.
Carter, are they the Philadelphia Flyers of this year?
I think so. I think that they have a good chance to be because, they're not necessarily a young team, but they're not an old team. They are kind of like the Flyers. They got some old grizzled guys, older vets like Huberdeau, like Kadri, right? But they got some young bright spots on that. Oh, why do I have to hiccup so much? They got some young bright spots on that team, and they have some good prospects too. So sure. I'd say so, but I don't know. Something about this. The one thing I will say is their goal differential is a -1. Which is
what I was going to get to.
Yeah, which is going to need to mean their scoring has got to go up.
Their scoring needs to get better. Their scoring 100% needs to get better. Carter, they don't have a single player on this team who has more than 7 goals. So
yeah,
and you know who has those 7 goals?
Johnny Huberdeau.
Yeah. So the scoring needs to get better. You can't be relying on your goalie to win you games. And I was looking at making a Flames video on the YouTube channel soon, and I was looking at the analytics and stuff. They are not good on the power play. They're not good on the penalty kill. Actually, let me be sure I'm fact checking that.
All I'm going to say
before their Wednesday game,
if you're saying you can't rely on your goaltender to win you games, clearly is not watch Winnipeg Jets hockey.
Okay, yes, the Jets are a little different though. They're not a team that is trying to rebuild like Calgary is. Now, when you look at Calgary's advanced analytics, goals for per game is 23rd. Goals against per game is 9th. Keep that in mind. Power plays 18th. Penalty kill is 26th. So you look at all the other metrics with this team, it seems like they're really relying on their goalie to win. And sometimes, for a team like, maybe the Rangers where they have good offensive talent, maybe you can do that. But again, just Calgary needs to start scoring a little bit more. That's the biggest thing. And then LA, I would say, I mean, it's surprising they're playing that well too. I didn't really expect them to be that great. There was a few of us, I think, who had LA missing the playoffs actually. The two wild card teams right now, Carter, are the Colorado Avalanche with 26 points and the Vancouver Canucks with 25 points. Is there any real surprises there? I would probably say both of those might be surprises.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think Colorado kind of has two excuses for this kind of slow, rocky start. One of which being this goaltending. My goodness, has it been horrendous?
Yeah, they need to figure that out.
Which is it's good when you're looking at it from a scoring perspective because you're like, damn, we have 13 wins with some of the worst goaltending, but it's also looking at it as we have the worst goaltending and we have 13 wins. Like, what would happen if they had a certified G1 back there, right? The other thing is injuries. This team was so injury riddled at the start of the year that they were starting like AHL second liners on their third line.
Yeah.
So they were just injury beat up and just not the greatest goaltending. I have no doubt in my mind that Colorado will turn this around. I think they're going to do whatever they can to get a goalie right away.
Right.
So do not be surprised if the Colorado Avalanche make a trade for a goalie in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I would say for Vancouver, they're kind of similar, but I don't think they're as injury riddled as Colorado has been. One thing that I really do want to point out is that Artur Shilovs, the guy we talked about last year in the playoffs, has sucked. He is in 7 games played. He's the backup. Lankinen's the starter. But in 7 games played, he is 1-4-1, has a 4.11 goals against average and a .847 save percentage. That is like Tristan Jarry bad, like this year. And Jarry has played less games than, and even last night, I think they beat Pittsburgh, and Jarry, I think, only allowed I think the game ended up being 5-4, but Shilovs was a big role in why Vancouver ended up losing that game. So, again, I wanted to keep Shilovs in mind there, too. Teams that are just outside, Edmonton Oilers with 24 points, Seattle Kraken with 23 points. Carter, I guess I'm surprised about the Oilers, but I'm not worried because I know that they can they'll go on a heater and get into it. But you got to eventually ask, like, when is that going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, again, we said it. We're not worried about Edmonton. I know I'm definitely not. They did it last year. The only thing I will say is do not fire your coach right now. No. He turned it around last year, and look where it got you. So relax. If he's never done an NHL training camp before, like straight into a season, he's never done it with these guys before. So it's a little different, and he's kind of still figuring things out, right? Obviously, he's been a coach. He knows how to do training camp. You get what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
And the start of a season's really hard. There's good teams that start off slow, and there's bad teams that start off hot. So the start of a season's hard. I kind of say I don't want to judge a coach off the start of a season, especially when they've never started a season with this team before.
Right.
So you've given them some time to kind of get accustomed to it, and they've been playing pretty decent. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. Obviously, that's not super ideal, but you got to also keep in mind they just started getting McDavid back again after his little quick injury. But he's back now, and
for some reason either their home record is pretty abysmal. Well, it's not like horrible, but it's still like kind of shocking, like how bad it's been.
Yeah, it's not ideal. They're really good on the road, but they absolutely pounded the New York Rangers. They beat Ottawa on the road. My only concern is that game against Minnesota. But Minnesota's a very good team. I got nothing but good things to say about Minnesota. They've looked really good. So that's the only game that I'd look at and maybe have a little bit of concern for. But I would not be sweating right now if I'm the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, give it some time. And that's where we're going to move into our next topic. Carter, we're just going to roll through it here as we're rolling through the teams. The St. Louis Blues currently 23 points. They are tied with the Seattle Kraken. Actually, we didn't really go into Seattle. Just for Seattle, they're kind of one of those teams where they're still 500. I don't really know what to expect. Joey Dackard's playing really well. They're kind of just there. I don't really have too many thoughts on them right now, at the very least. St. Louis, though, is definitely a team that we have our opinions on. They fired Drew Bannister last Sunday morning and hired Jim Montgomery. Carter, Jim Montgomery only lasted 5 days without a job. How do you feel about this?
It's the guy St. Louis wanted all along.
Yeah.
I was listening to Chicklets today. Yeah. I was listening to Chicklets with Jeff Merrick today. Honestly, I miss Jeff Merrick. He's such a good hockey mind.
I miss Merrick. It really was a blast from the past listening to that.
Yeah, it was great to listen to Jeff Merrick, but he was talking about how when talking about Jim Montgomery, he said that when they hired Drew Bannister was, I think, the day the Boston Bruins advanced to the second round. So kind of that being like, okay, his job is on the line if he loses, but his job is going to be safe if he wins this series. And he did. So he got his job. He was safe for a little bit, and then they just had enough of him and they fired him. So obviously St. Louis knew that Jim Montgomery was their guy, and they went out and got him. I'm pretty sure their GM or someone came out and spoke with the media about it as well. Right. Yeah, saying very professional, came out and said, this is our guy. It's who we wanted. We got him. Okay. That's it. At the end of the day, hockey's a business, right? If you got a guy who's, you like, but is not the guy you love, and then the guy you love becomes available, you are going to go get him. You're like, I don't care the repercussions that I'm going to get from this. Sorry, you're done. And we get the guy we love, right? So they went out, they got the guy they love, and Jim Montgomery, he is going to do very well in St. Louis. I'm very excited for what's going to come with St. Louis, because he's been there for 2 games?
Yes.
Yeah, so in his 2 games he's been there, they won 5-2 and 3-0 against the Rangers and the Devils, and now
playoff teams.
Yeah, some playoff teams and one fringe playoff team that we don't know what they are really yet. And then they'll end up playing Philadelphia on the 30th, and then they take on Winnipeg at home. So they'll start a quick Central game just to kind of see how Jim Montgomery kind of does in that Central kind of rivalry. So we'll see how that goes for him. But I think he's going to do very well in St. Louis. I think the Jim Montgomery era is going to be a good one.
Do you feel that Drew Bannister kind of got the short end of the stick?
I do. It sucks. It sucks that it has to happen because it seems like a great guy.
He coached less than 80 games too.
Yeah, he coached 22 or something.
I think that he probably could get another job elsewhere. Maybe
I think he could.
Maybe not as a head coach. Maybe not as a head coach in the NHL, but he can get another job somewhere.
He'll for sure get another job. I mean, yeah, obviously being 9-12-1 is not very good, but you got to remember that this was his first stint, right? Was this his first NHL gig?
I will get back to you. I'm pretty sure, yes. I'm pretty sure.
So if it was his first NHL stint, you got to give him time. It's the same thing as what I said with the Oilers coach, who I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now, but Knobloch, thank you. Right?
Yeah, Knobloch.
Okay, perfect. I don't know why I was blanking on his name. But you got to give him time. All right? He wasn't going to come in and turn that team around right away. They also had injuries.
They did. Their line was atrocious because of the injuries.
So,
yeah. With Bannister, he was a American Hockey League and Ontario Hockey League coach for a while, and then got called up to St. Louis last year. I thought he had a solid job. Just again, as you said, hockey's a business, and sometimes things like that will happen where somebody will get the short end of the stick, and I think that overall it happens. The other teams that are currently in the race, the Anaheim Ducks with 21 points, the Utah Hockey Club with 21 points, and the San Jose Sharks with 19 points. Carter, I'm not really surprised about any of those teams being down there. I'm surprised with how San Jose's played, though. I feel like even though, they're losing games, they still look watchable. Like they look fun, man.
They look like a fun team, and not only that, you got to keep in mind they still got that Colin Graff kid who's lighting it up in the AHL right now.
In the A, he's killing it in the A.
I said when that guy got signed, I said Colin Graff, he's gonna be a good player. He's gonna help this team, and he's balling in the minors right now. Not only that, Macklin Celebrini, he's looked unreal.
7 goals in 13
7
games.
goals. Will Smith got off to a slow start. He's looking better now.
Yeah,
he's looking better. Like, you gotta, man, this team is going to be so fun to watch, and they still got pieces to move. I'm pretty sure they also still have some draft capital too.
Mikhail Granlund's playing really good right now. They can move Granlund. They can move Wallman.
They're gonna get some nice things for Mikhail Granlund. Quick breakdown of their picks. They got their first rounder this year, second rounder. I mean, obviously they'll end up getting some more picks because I think Mikhail Granlund is probably going to be a guy that they will move at the end of this season here. But I mean, just a great team.
Yeah, they are actually so hyped to watch. Askarov even came up and played 2 games too, and has great numbers there as well. So the future really is bright. And again, as we said, they can move Mackenzie Blackwood to a team like Colorado. I could see that happening for sure.
Mikhail, as we said, Mikhail Granlund, he's on the last year of his $5 million deal. $5 million for Mikhail Granlund is not a bad price to pay.
Yeah. 100%.
Not only that, Zetterlund has looked really good. Eklund has looked really good. This is a good-looking young team right now, and Toffoli has, I think, been one of their underrated bright spots of this team as well. There's so much to like if you're a San Jose Sharks fan right now. I think it's a fun place to be right now. So
I agree.
Get excited. That's what I'm gonna say is get excited because you still have some prospects as well.
100%. I want to go to Anaheim now, and I want to talk about Trevor Zegras, Carter. 10 points in 21 games. How are you feeling about Zegras so far this year? He started to pick it up now.
He's picking it up. That's all I can say. We're gonna leave it at that. Okay. There's no point in overreacting. I will say that he is definitely going to be available for trade, and Philadelphia should consider picking this guy up. We're gonna leave it at that.
Probably. He has the same points as Cutter Gauthier, by the way.
Wait, really? Cutter is 10 points?
Yeah, Cutter has 10 points now. I mean, Cutter was racking up assists before he started scoring, but yeah, I also want to talk about Lucas Dostal. Carter, this kid is freaking good.
He is unbelievable.
The Ducks are 500 right now, and I think it's all because of Dostal.
Well, I mean, John Gibson has played 5 games and has four wins, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, look at their offense. Their offense is just as bad as Calgary's, and Calgary is 3rd in the division.
I'm not disagreeing with you. All I'm going to say is I think we also have to give John Gibson his flowers too.
Okay, yeah. We can say both goalies are playing really good.
Yeah, both goalies are playing really good, but I think everyone is surprised about Lucas Dostal.
Is he a top 10 goalie?
You wanna put that question out right now?
If we're basing it off of this season, I think it's an immediate yes.
If we're basing off of this season, yes. But if we're
it's close. He's definitely in the top 15.
I think that if we're judging it off of everything, I think I'd throw him top 15. I don't know, top 10 this year for sure. I think we'd have to do some legitimate digging into. I think this will be something we could do around All-Star break. Is we can give our top 10 list based solely on the season, and I think Lucas Dosal will be in there. I think that's something we could do during that little Four Nations All-Star, whatever you want to call it, break.
We are going to have time in there, so
we will have some time.
We should be able to cook that up. Also, again, Utah as well. I mean, they're just depleted on the blue line.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's really what it is with Utah. I like how Logan Cooley's playing, though. He seems like the best player in that draft class.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Again, they're still trying to figure things out, but it's better than it was in Arizona for sure. And then the final two teams, Chicago and Nashville, both tied for last in that conference. Carter, Chicago's not really a surprise. There is some disagreements and some discontent between the fan base and the team. They think that this team is not getting better and that they should fire Luke Richardson. Also, Connor Bedard is struggling this season.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say it right now. People are overreacting at the fact that Bedard's struggling. This is a kid who's in his second season. You can name so many players who had sophomore slumps.
So here's my thing: is I don't think that this is a sophomore slump. I think this is a guy who's doing everything he can for a team that has nothing around him. Let's be at least with San Jose. There are some other bright spots on this team and some young bright spots at that. I brought up Fabian Zetterlund, who's 25 years old. William Eklund, who's 22 years old. If you want to talk about Connor Bedard playing with some young talent that he can grow with, you're not looking at it right. He's got Kurashev, who's 25, who's not been very good. He's playing with Taylor Hall. Great old vet, but that's not a guy he can really grow with. Other than Reichel, who's on the fourth line, their youngest guy on this team is Kurashev, 25, who's no hate to him, but he's not an Eklund. He's not a Zetterlund, right? There's not a lot of young talent to build around Connor Bedard, to build those kind of close player-to-player relationships with. There's no one for him to kind of grow with. Right? They might be without Taylor Hall at the end of this year because he's coming down to the last year of his deal and they might not re-sign him. There's some young talent here. Nazar, he's a young piece that they should try to bring up soon. But
here's the thing, though: those guys are in the American Hockey League. They aren't in the NHL.
They aren't in the NHL.
I'm just gonna say right now, it seems and Mike Bartner, going to give credit where it's due, he made a video on this. He kind of said that Chicago's rebuild is a little, it's kind of a fraud. David,
it's disappointing.
What'd you say?
It's disappointing because they got Connor Bedard, and you get a player of his caliber. You're okay, we have to do this right, and they aren't doing it. It's they got Bedard, and they're our rebuild's complete. We got Bedard, our rebuild's done.
There's no other youth that is in the NHL right now besides Lucas Reichel.
Yeah, who's getting fourth line minutes,
and Kurashev was really struggling.
For Lucas Reichel, he's on not even a scoring line. He's with Patty Maroon and the Ty Smith or Craig Smith. Those are not guys that you can develop with. I'm sorry, Chicago.
Yeah, it looks like to me. I wish Jack was here because Jack's.
Yeah, I agree. He'd be able to help.
Jack was here. He's not listening to this. You look at this offensive core, and you even look at the defensive core too. Well, the defensive core I think is a little bit better, but when it comes to youth, the offensive core, you have Connor Bedard, you have Kurashev. You have Reichel. I think that's it. I think just about everybody else on that top offensive roster, I think is at least 26 or older.
On this roster?
Hang on a second. Let me.
Kurashev.
Yeah, just about everyone else except for those three.
Yeah,
everybody else except for those three.
No. Other than the D.
on the forward core.
Yeah,
Like,
on the forward core, yes.
on the blue line, there's Vlasic,
Kaiser
Kaiser,
and Craver.
But I'm just saying, like, there's no youth, there's no future around Bedard. You have guys who are just there they're there to play with him for now.
Yeah.
Why is none of the other offensive talent? Like, again, this is why it's a little bit annoying. Like, yeah, they have Artem Levshinov on the back end, and that's going to be a great ad. But imagine if you got Demidov. Imagine if you got Caden Lidstrom. He wouldn't be, in the NHL neither of those guys would be in the NHL this year, but at least you have that other guy coming up. Why isn't Frank Nazar in the NHL either? Why isn't even Korchinski in here either? I know he struggled last. I just don't understand how you can put this team together and not have any other youth or real future around Bedard. Because again, as you said, with Celebrini, he's got Will Smith. He's got Zetterlund. He's got all these guys who are going to be with him for the future. Bedard doesn't really look like he has that right now.
Yeah, no. Chicago, in my opinion, did this. Like, it sucks because I think we're gonna watch Connor Bedard struggle this year and probably next year as well. And after that, you got Connor Bedard, who's gonna want to be making $13 million, and you just wasted the start of his career. You're not gonna give him the right pieces to develop, and now you just lost about $12 million worth of your cap. Like,
they need to make a trade.
They need to start doing something.
They need to make a trade for some youth. David Juracek's out there. Hell, even Carter, hear me out. Trevor Zegras is out there.
I agree. I think that
you get some future.
So here's my thing. Is you're not going to be able to get high potential youth, right? Because that's going to come with a huge cost, and Chicago's not going to be willing to pay that.
Yeah, that is
what you
true.
can do is look for struggling youth, right? Like, look at a guy like Trevor Zegras. Look for a David Juracek, right? Like, he's a guy that's not doing too good in Columbus, right? I get he's a defenseman. He wouldn't help Bedard, but it's a young piece that can help him blossom on a power play or something, right? Like, give him something. But go after a Trevor Zegras type guy. Go after, like, what Montreal did with Kirby Dach. Like, I get Kirby Dach's not anything special, right? But he was a young, struggling player on that team. Oh, that's actually kind of crazy. That
he is a former Blackhawk.
I did not think about that. But you get what I'm saying. Do what those guys did and go out and acquire young, struggling talent that, you're taking on a little bit of a risk, but when it pays off and let's say you're paying a second round pick for a first rounder who has the potential and the skill of Trevor Zegras, who's laughing now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally. Moving on from Chicago to Nashville. Again, like, we can talk about these teams for days.
That was a long talk about Chicago.
That was a pretty good segment. It would be even longer if Jack was here. But with Nashville,
no, we'd be laughing.
Yeah, Nashville's just so shocking. Like, how bad this team's been. And I don't know what it is, Carter. I don't know what it is.
Here's the thing: is that this team honestly has everything.
It seems like you look at on paper, their core looks good, but it's not producing.
Like you look at they have what teams would want: good veteran presence. Forsberg, O'Reilly, Stamkos, Yossi. Like, you have vets at every position, right? Not only that.
I want to say, sorry, keep going. Sorry.
No, go.
I just want to say, like, their team, like, their depth is not that great. It's not, like, terrific. But you would think with their top end talent and with having one of the best goalies in the league in net, you think this team would be better than tied for last in the conference, last in the league. In fact, actually.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, like, as I said, you got the old vets, you got the veteran presence, good vets too, like Forsberg and Stamkos and O'Reilly. Like, those aren't just like vets; those are vets. Like, those are guys you want to listen to, right? Not only that, you got young talent there too. Engvallista, who's a young guy. Svechnikov, who's 21 years old as well. Novak's even a younger guy. He's 27. I get he's not like anything crazy, but like, still a younger guy who can learn from some of these boys. Yeah. And then not only that, on the back end, like you don't have a lot of like young talent there, but you still got Willsby, who's 24, who's looking pretty solid as well.
Carter,
and then not only that,
they traded one of them, Philip Tomasino, to Pittsburgh for a fourth.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but whatever. And then you got Saros too. Like this team has so much there, but I don't know what it is with this team, but like there's just something missing. But I don't think anyone knows what it is.
I have no idea. Like I don't understand. I don't get it. I just don't get it. No. Honestly, it's so weird how this team is just like, and it seems like they're just gonna rebuild, signing all these guys, and they're just gonna be like, oh yeah, we're rebuilding. Why don't you fire the coach? It's with Pittsburgh too. I don't understand. You struggle in the first 20 games. Oh, rebuild. You don't fire the coach? Jim Montgomery was there. Again, maybe he didn't want to go to Nashville, but you had options. Fire the coach. He's way easier to move than just be like, oh, let's tear everything down and rebuild. Maybe another coach. You bring in another coach. Am I wrong? Seriously.
What if, and hear me out, what if we put Barry Trotz behind the bench?
Honestly, coach and GM.
I think you give it a shot. Listen,
it's not a thing you see often anymore, but
it's something that you get straight out of soccer. This is what you're getting out of soccer and what you're getting out of like the NBA. Like this isn't a hockey thing. This isn't a football. Like this is.
Back in the day, it used to be.
Back in the day, yeah, you'd see it. You'd see it sometimes. Like managers and the managers were the coach and decision makers, right?
Yeah, but now it's two jobs that should be separate, right?
Yeah,
so. Like I think that what you're saying isn't entirely out of the question.
No, I think that it's something that you can bring up, and like it's not even like this team is like narrowly biting at the cap. They still got $4.5 million to spend.
Yeah,
like they have Ryan O'Reilly making $4.5 million. Like what? Getting that's crazy. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable to have.
So realistically, can you see this team turning it around?
I think you kind of have to. There's like, as much as you want to kind of say no, I don't, because they've looked horrible, but you look at this team and you got probably a top 5 goalie in the NHL in UC Saros. You got one of the most underrated defensemen in Roman Josi, who's kind of off to a little bit of a rocky start, but obviously he'll figure it out. You got 2 guys that show up in big moments in the playoffs, Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault. So you got a great 1-2 punch in a center and left winger in Ryan O'Reilly and Forsberg. Your third line is where you kind of got to look and be like, there's something wrong here. So I think you go out, you go acquire some either third, fourth line scoring or some grinders, some guys who will make you pay for not having your head up, guys who will make you pay for going into the corners, guys who will make you pay for letting them be in the offensive zone. That's what you need on this team. And I think that that's what they're kind of lacking right now. They have some young pieces that they can trade, but I think when you look at it, this is cup or bust in the next 4 years, because you're coming down to 4 years left on Roman Josi. You're coming down to 4 years with Steven Stamkos. You got 5 years of Jonathan Marchessault. You got 3 more years, this is including this year, of Ryan O'Reilly. Like, you need a cup within these next 4 years to prove that this worked. Because if you don't, it's a failure. It is a failure, and this is, I don't want this to be true, but this is looking like the Ottawa Senators of 2021 or 22, whenever it was.
The last 3 Ottawa Senators team.
Yeah, when they made all those signings and everyone was like, whoa, this team is gearing up and they are looking scary. And then utter failure. So
Ottawa wasn't really to the degree of what Nashville did, though. It's a good example, but like nobody was saying outside of you two were saying that they were going to go really far. Like, people thought Nashville was going to go far with these ads.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't really know what you do. It's going to leave us with our last question here. We just went through the entire league, every single team that's in a playoff spot, not in a playoff spot. We may have went in more depth with some teams, may have went in less depth with other teams. Carter, of these teams, of all these teams in the NHL, give me your top 3 coaches right now that you think are most likely to be fired next.
Oh, to be fired? Okay. Well, we're going to start with Nashville,
Okay.
obviously. I think that one's a no-brainer. I think Sullivan's on a hot seat.
I just can't see it anymore.
I can't see it, but I mean, at some point, you can look. Is Ottawa still with the same coaches that what they were with when they?
No, they brought in Travis Green.
I couldn't remember.
I wouldn't think he'd get fired, but
no, I think Anaheim's coaches won because I've heard that there's guys who don't like him.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
So I'd say Nashville, Anaheim, if not Pittsburgh, Chicago. I think we're looking at Western Conference teams are going to start having to pull the trigger here soon.
I think for me, number 1 is Nashville. I think if no way you're going to go straight to a rebuild instead of just firing the coach and seeing what that'll do. Number 2, I'm going to go with Derek Lalonde of Detroit. But I am going to say this, and this was brought up on Chicklets too. We love to reference podcasts. We love to reference other podcasts on here. But Jeff Merrick said this on Chicklets. Ever since the Ilitch family bought the Red Wings, there has not been a coach that has been fired mid-season. I think Lalonde might be the coach that breaks that.
It could be.
It could. But again, I could also see them firing him at the end of the season. Another team, this is when it gets difficult. I'm going to be honest with you. Andre Turgeon of Utah.
Okay.
I think that you look at, again, it's new ownership. They might get restless of how this team has been kind of struggling a little bit, and they might be like, let's make a change and let go of the coach. I don't know, though. I could also see Anaheim because it seems like they have some issues underlying in there as well, even though they're just a game below 500. I could see Luke Richardson getting let go, even though the Blackhawks are actually doing better than they were last season. Carter, at this time last year, they only had 4 wins. So, yeah, at least they have double the wins they had then. But, yeah, that's the coaches I think should be fired. So before we move into news around the NHL and news around hockey and trending players, and then our last topic for today, Carter, I want to take a look at last year's playoff race and what the playoff race looked like at this time last year. So November 28th, 2023. We'll start off with the Eastern Conference. In the Atlantic Division, the Boston Bruins, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Tampa Bay Lightning led the entire NHL, or not the entire NHL, the entire Atlantic Division. In the Metropolitan, the New Jersey Devils, the New York Islanders, and the Carolina Hurricanes were the 3 teams that were in the 1, 2, 3 in the Metro. The wild card teams at this point were Detroit and Pittsburgh. So keep in mind, teams like Florida, the Rangers were out of the playoffs at that point, which is a little crazy to think, considering the fact that A, Florida won the Cup, and B, the Rangers were the President's Trophy team. When you look at the West, it was the Dallas Stars, the Winnipeg Jets, and the Colorado Avalanche, who were top 3 in the Central at that point. Not really surprises there. In the Pacific, it was Vegas, Seattle, and Los Angeles. Seattle, definitely a big surprise. They really fell off a cliff in December. And then the teams that were in the wild card, the Edmonton Oilers and the Minnesota Wild. So keep in mind, teams like Vancouver, the Nashville Predators, those were teams that were not in playoff spots at this point. So again, Carter, it is possible that there are teams outside of a playoff spot right now that can break in, but usually those teams that break in are teams who are right below the playoff line or are just, are already in it as it is. when it comes to teams who are like, towards the bottom of the league, like Nashville and Pittsburgh, it's going to be a huge climb for them to get this done for sure. So any final thoughts about the wild card race, any teams around the league before we get into news?
No, but I think we went in depth with two teams very well, and I think that those were kind of the two teams that I feel like we had to go in depth with, especially considering what we did with Detroit last week.
Yes, we did. We really did go into like insane depth with Detroit. Let's take a look around other news around the league before we get into our final topic, which is going to be player safety. Again, we mentioned David Juracek and how there's going to be a trade that likely happens there soon. It sucks how it's not working out in Columbus, but it's become pretty clear that it's not going to work there. You see how he's gone through two coaches. Even Pascal Vincent was not a fan of him. Even Dean Evanson's not a fan of him either. It seems like he is somebody who has found himself the odd man out in Columbus. Carter, if you could think of a team that could go out and get David Juracek, what's a team that you would have in mind?
I know that Philly was one that was brought up. I don't think that I'd want to go after him.
I don't think so either. I don't know.
No. I wasn't really a big fan of Juracek.
I mean, like Gates, so
no. I think a team that I said was Chicago. But I don't think that defense is really something they should focus on. I think maybe we could look at Nashville, take a chance on them. They don't have a lot of good young defensemen, from what I've kind of seen. Not even in the minors, it's not the strongest, and there are prospects and there are guys in the CHL aren't looking good either. I think Nashville could be a team that could go out and look at them. Another team, San Jose, a young team, could take a chance at them.
I could see San Jose going down that road.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think there's teams that are options, but I'm not really sure who really wants to pull the trigger on.
I just don't know if it would be a playoff team that would pull the trigger on them.
It probably won't be. It'll be a team that is either rebuilding or a team that is on the bubble. It's going to be one of those, most likely. Paul Bissonnette was assaulted by 6 men in an Arizona restaurant. Carter, have you heard this story? This is insane.
Yeah, it was
absolutely wild.
Craziest story I've ever really heard, and like, I'm pretty sure when it broke, or the story broke or whatever, I was at work. I was working, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I check the next day, and I was at work, and I'm like, oh my, that's when he like made the video like addressing it. I'm like, damn. And he's like, yeah, I'm glad we talked about it on Chicklets today. I'm like, because I'm like, oh, they usually record on like Sundays or something, but no.
Yeah, they usually record before, and I figured that this episode wasn't going to include it, and then I was like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. So kind of a crazy scenario there, but he's got all of Barstool behind him. It sounds. I saw a post of from Bussin' with the Boys from Taylor Lewan, and he's like breaking down his top 10 most hated people, and it was like the 6 guys who jumped Biz were on there, and I was just cracking up laughing. And he's got a lot of support behind him. And I saw another clip there from Pat McAfee show. Everyone love to bring up Pat McAfee. So JJ Watt is like apparently 3 minutes away from that restaurant. And he's like, I wish I would have known about this. I would have went over and helped him. Could you imagine 6 guys versus Paul Bissonnette and JJ fucking Watt?
Bissonnette kicked the shit out of those guys too.
Oh, he did.
You saw the
pictures.
Like those guys got killed, and you saw Biz. He looked fine. I'm like, what the hell? Like he looked like he didn't have a scratch on him.
Yeah, like his nose looked a little off, but I'm like, it could just be his nose from all the fights he got in. But like, if you don't think that Barstool Sports already has T-shirts starting to get ready with those mugshots put on them, oh baby, I am excited to buy one.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, good on Biz. I mean, well, it's good on Biz that he, like you heard the story. Like again, he went in there and defended the staff. I thought that was great. And he put up a fight for himself against 6 people. That's pretty insane. Trending players, Carter. Do you have any trending players that you want to bring up? I have a couple.
I do actually.
Ooh. I want to give credit to Sidney Crosby. 600 NHL goals. Took him long enough. It took him like a week, or not even a week, 2 weeks to get to 600. But congratulations to him for sure. Another guy, Emil Andre, put up his first NHL goal this past week.
Yeah.
He has been with the Flyers for a while. And Carter, he's also playing almost 20 minutes a night as a rookie. You have any idea how playing 20 minutes a night as a rookie alongside John Tortorella as your head coach? That's pretty crazy.
Scary. That's scary.
It is scary. But it's still awesome.
Yeah.
All right, who do you got?
All right, my trending players. My first one, Brandon Hagel. He's got 9 points through his last 4 games. I kind of just took it from the last week. Brandon Hagel's my guy. He's looked really good this year in Tampa. Another guy, Zach Werenski, had himself the 5-point night against the Tampa Bay Lightning, along with the game-winning goal. He is unbelievable. And then my last one is going to be Braden Point, another Tampa Bay guy, 5 goals in the last 4 games that he's played there. So he's looked absolutely unreal. Yeah, those are my guys. And then I'll also give a shout out to a guy who doesn't get a lot of talk about him, Adam Gaudette. He was also a goal a game guy last week. So some things you like to see.
He's pulling from that Tampa Columbus game there with those 3. Killing it.
No, Gaudette's Ottawa.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking. Yeah,
But the other 3, yes.
I got one more. I'm trying to look. I thought I had another one. No, just one more. Nikita Gurbankin. Back check, forecheck, paycheck. That's what I love to see. For Fraser Minton, too, got his first NHL goal against Vegas. I think that was last week. We might have even covered that. But I wanted to give credit to him, too. I think that's it. I thought I had one more in mind, but I guess I forgot. Oh, Charlie Lindgren scoring an own goal. Huge credit to him. That was pretty. I mean, again, we talked about that earlier, but that was pretty awesome. All right, Carter, let's move on to. He's got one. What's up?
I got one last trending player. This is coming out of the WHL. Andrew Cristal. What a season this guy's having. He's got 41 points through 16 games. He is 7 points back of the league lead with 9 games in hand. And the guy who's in first, 2026 first overall selection, probably a lock, Gavin McKenna. We're going to talk about him a lot next year. There's some great prospects coming out of Canada in these next few years. Get excited.
Do you know who Andrew Crystal is a prospect for?
I feel like I do. Who's he he was Washington, right?
He was.
Yeah.
They're low key. They have kind of like a good future. Ryan Leonard, Crystal.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was watching the draft from a graduation party, and when the Flyers were almost up on the clock, I was like, if we go Ryan Leonard here, Cutter Gauthier, Ryan Leonard, I'm like, we might have a really good roster in a couple of years. Obviously, you know what happened with Cutter and with Ryan Leonard, but Oliver Bonk is good too. But I really would have loved to have Ryan Leonard on this team because he is tearing it up in BC.
Yeah, he's a guy that I'm really looking forward to.
Hang on. Am I able to pull up his stats?
Hang on, I could probably get him for you. Ryan Leonard. All right, Ryan Leonard this season with Boston College has 17 points in 12 games, played as 11 goals. So, another kid who's tearing it up. Okay.
There's some good scoring leaders here too. I'm just going to say that out loud.
Yeah, we really need to do like an episode where we kind of just look around other leagues and Carter, what do you see?
Hold on. There's this. Hold on. There's this guy, his name's Jack Devine. He plays University of Denver. He's 21 years old. He's an 03. He's a forward. 23 points and 1 goal.
Carter,
That is kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie.
1 goal, 22 assists is actually insane.
I-
Carter,
and
you know who he belongs to?
I swear, if you say Washington,
The Florida Panthers.
7th round pick.
7th round pick as well. In what year was that? I closed out of it. 2022. 220. How many picks are there in a draft every year? 220
I think there's
overall.
Hold on. Let me try and do. Hold on. I'm gonna do math here. I think there's 224.
Yes, there's 224. So he was the third last pick in 2024. Yeah, the math man. He was the third last player to be selected in that draft, and he's killing it right now. He's unsigned, by the way, by the Panthers. So
Yeah, but that's how all the NCAA guys go.
typically, yeah.
The only thing that I don't like about NCAA is the fact that I can never tell if a player is really good or not. Because, like, usually if you're really good, you're young and you sign. So the guys that are like 22, 21, tearing up the league, I'm like, I don't know what to think of you. Because you're playing against like 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Like, some of them are, they're your age, but then you go to the NHL and they're 30 years old and they're going to absolutely just dummy you. That's why one thing I'm scared of is St. Louis Blues prospect Jimmy Snuggerud. Like, I'm kind of scared for him to come into the league because he looked really good in Minnesota. But again, I'm kind of nervous for him. And I think the same thing could come true with Ryan Leonard.
Transition's a little bit interesting sometimes, for sure. Some guys, they click. Some guys take a little bit.
Some guys like Colin Graff click right away.
Other guys like Cutter Gauthier take a little bit more time. So again, all right, Carter, we got some videos to watch from the NHL,
I love video.
NHL player safety. Again, we're gonna link these in the comment section in the description down below of the podcast. But first off, Carter, we'll start up with Timo Meier. He was suspended 1 game for a cross-checking on Predators forward Zachary Leroux. Have you seen the play?
I'm 99% sure I did see the play.
I think I sent it to you.
You did send it. Definitely a cross-check to the head. They're getting involved. I don't exactly kind of know my thoughts because I think they're obviously getting both. It's definitely a suspension.
Yeah, maybe the video will further help you explain. So we're gonna play the video here. We can't play the audio. We can't play the actual video itself. We got to play the audio. So we'll be right back real quick after this.
Monday night in New Jersey, Devils forward Timo Meier was assessed a major penalty and a game misconduct for forcefully cross-checking Predators forward Zachary Leroux in the face at a stoppage in play. As the video shows, the puck is frozen by the Predators goaltender for a whistle as Leroux pushes Meier away from the net front. After the shove, Meier delivers a cross-check to Leroux's chest in response. Then, after this initial cross-check, Meier draws his stick back again with both hands and delivers a second two-handed blow with his stick that makes direct contact with Leroux's head, causing him to fall to the ice. This is cross-checking. It is important to note that Meier is in control of this play at all times and is attempting to deliver a second cross-check to an opponent after the whistle. This is not a case in which two players are mutually engaged with their sticks up high, nor is it a case in which the blow rides up a player's body before making contact with the head. Players are responsible for their stick at all times and are not excused from their actions just because a blow lands in an unintended place on the opponent or with unintended force. This remains a high cross-check delivered after the whistle is blown that makes direct contact with an opponent's head with sufficient force to merit supplemental discipline. To summarize, this is cross-checking. Meier has been fined once during his 565-game NHL career. The Department of Player Safety has suspended Timo Meier for 1 game.
So Carter, you said that you didn't know your thoughts before watching that video. Has your opinion been better? You better view on this now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that angle kind of because in the puck empire or puck report wherever you sent it from clip, it only shows the one, and it almost looks like the hand is like on Meier's stick, and it just like rides up. Whatever. My point being is that's 100% a suspension. There's not a question about it, and Timo Meier's got to be in control of his stick. It's what's got to happen. I think LaHue, whatever his name is, LaRue.
Yeah.
All right, LaRue was trying to clear him out, and that's what you got to do, and he did, and just sucks that that's the outcome that happened, but Timo's got to be in control of his stick there.
Do you think that it was the right amount of games?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's not a dirty player, Timo Meier. He plays a little bit on the edge, but he's never really been suspended. He's been fined through 500 games. So, I mean, not really a big kind of, he's a dirty player. Let's get him out of here. It's not like a Ryan Reeves type thing. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
I said it should have been 1 to 3 games. I could have seen 2 because that it's similar to Austin Matthews and the Rasmus Dahlin thing a couple of years ago in the Heritage Classic, or I think it was the Heritage Classic. But I think
Stadium series, I think.
Stadium, it was outdoors, okay?
Yeah.
And I think that, I think that this was a better explanation for that. Carter, did you see the Zach Whitecloud hit on Matthew Nyes?
I mean, you just sent it, so I'm watching it now.
That's the next one that I want to talk about because you look at that play. There's head contact. I sent you the replay angles that there is. It just seems like when you see that initial hit, is it dirty? Should it be a suspension? It's similar to like it's kind of like Ryan Reeves, but at the same time it's not, where there is head contact there. I'll let you watch this and see what you think.
That one's a tough one to kind of judge. There's definitely head contact, but I don't know what he hits. Like, it looks like he hits head first, but it also looks like he hits shoulder first.
Did you see the other angles?
Yeah, I saw every angle.
Okay.
Like from one angle it looks like he hits him shoulder first. From the other angle it looks like he goes head first. It's a weird kind of scenario. And then at the end he kind of gets his feet kind of rise off, so you could be like, oh, that's charging, right? But I think that's just because of the impact of the hit and Nye skating at a fast speed. It's a complicated one. I could understand every single argument that could be made for that hit. Did he get disciplined for it?
He did not.
Okay. So I can understand no discipline on that because it's not like it's a late hit or anything. And it looks like he hit shoulder, but it also looks like he hit head. So I would have understood a fine, a suspension, but also I can understand a no fine, no suspension.
Well, we got another video to watch. There was a lot of outrage by Toronto Maple Leafs fans and fans around the league saying that this should have been a suspension. We got a 5-minute video here of player safety examining this check to the head. I believe they even included the Zach Whitecloud hit in here as well and other examples. So again, we'll have a link in the description down below, but let's give this a listen, Carter.
Over the last 2 weeks, the Department of Player Safety has reviewed dozens of plays for potential supplementary discipline. During that time, we have issued 2 suspensions for violations of Rule 48, the illegal check to the head rule. On November 7th, Tanner Jeannot delivered this illegal check to the head of Canucks forward Brock Besser. Then on November 16th, Ryan Reeves delivered this illegal check to the head of Oilers defenseman Darnell Nurse. On November 20th, Vegas defenseman Zach Whitecloud delivered a hit on Toronto forward Matthew Knies that was reviewed by NHL hockey operations and the on-ice officials in-game for a major penalty, and was reduced to no penalty. In light of the similarities and differences among these three plays and their relatively high-profile nature, we want to take this opportunity to demonstrate some of the nuances that our department examines when we are reviewing hits that involve contact with the head. To begin, let's review Rule 48, which reads in part, a hit resulting in contact with an opponent's head where the head was the main point of contact and such contact to the head was avoidable is not permitted. This means there are two aspects to an illegal check to the head, both of which must be present for the hit to be illegal. First, the head must be the main point of contact of the hit. While the term principal point of contact used to appear in the rule, the wording of the rule was changed in 2013 to main point of contact to better reflect the intention of the rule and the way that players understood it. This means it does not matter what part of the player was impacted first. What matters is what part of the player absorbed the majority of the impact of the hit. Let's look at the video examples. On this hit by Jeannot, while contact is made simultaneously with the head and body, it is clear to us that Boeser's head absorbs the majority of the impact of this hit. Jeannot's arm does contact Boeser's body, but Jeannot's shoulder cap is driven directly into the chin of Boeser with force. On this hit by Reeves on Nurse, Reeves makes minimal contact with Nurse's body, and the head absorbs the brunt of the impact. Note the way Nurse's head moves independently of his body in absorbing the force of this hit. On the hit by Whitecloud, Whitecloud hits through the body of Knies. While there is inarguably head contact here, we see Knies' entire body stopped in its tracks and driven backwards simultaneously with his head, in a way that indicates the body absorbed the force of this check. If we determine the head is not the main point of contact, the review ends there and the hit is considered legal within the framework of the rule. If the hit is determined to make the head the main point of contact, we must then contemplate whether the head was avoidable or not. The text of the rule explains multiple reasons why head contact might be considered unavoidable on a play. As both the Jeannot and Reeves hits were deemed illegal for the same reason, having poor timing or poor angle of approach, this video will focus predominantly on this aspect of the rule. But remember that head contact can be unavoidable for other reasons, including movements made immediately prior to contact. For a more complete analysis of unavoidable head contact, please refer to our 2018 video on NHL.com entitled Player Safety Examines Unavoidable Head Contact. Let's look at some examples. Both of the hits by Jeannot and Reeves are excellent examples of players who took a poor angle of approach, causing them to pick the head. Both players cut along the front of their opponent's core rather than hitting directly through their opponent's shoulder or chest, which causes the contact to be directly and forcefully with their opponent's head. Conversely, Whitecloud takes a good angle of approach, stepping up directly through Knies' core. And while Whitecloud does come up off the ice due to the force of the contact of the hit, he does not elevate up excessively or unnecessarily to pick the head as he delivers the check. This means that the head contact on this play is considered unavoidable head contact on a play where the hitter is throwing an otherwise legal full body check. To summarize, remember that both elements of the illegal check to the head rule must be met in order for a play to be deemed illegal. When analyzing an illegal check to the head, first determine if the head absorbed the brunt of the impact of the check, then consider if the head contact was avoidable or unavoidable. If the head was the main point of contact and the head contact is deemed avoidable, it is an illegal check to the head. At this point, the Department of Player Safety will weigh other factors such as the force of the hit, the predatory nature of the hit, any injury that might be suffered on the play, and the hitter's disciplinary history in assessing the length of a possible suspension. We hope this helps you to better understand Rule 48, the illegal check to the head rule.
You know, Carter, I don't know about you, but I feel like they did a pretty good job at explaining that the reason why that hit was different than the others. But I also think that this is something that they need to do more often with controversial hits like this and talk about why, maybe some of these hits weren't called instead of just, going at a random one every now and then, and instead of and just making videos every 6 years, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that will do it for this episode of the NordCast. Carter, any final thoughts you have here?
No.
No final thoughts?
I usually have something, but I don't think I do today.
These videos make you tired.
Something like that, yeah.
You're falling asleep. You can
I
say,
am.
you can admit it.
Nap time.
All right, well, that'll do it for this episode of the NordCast. Again, happy Thanksgiving. We do want to make one more announcement. December 4th, right, is when they're announcing the Four Nations rosters. We will be doing an episode before then, giving our Four Nations rosters, whether Jack is here or not. That is how we're going to do it.
Adam Lowry for first line center.
Carter has Team Canada. Jack has Team USA. And I have Sweden and Finland. So that'll be next episode's milk and potatoes. Wait, milk, meat and potatoes, not milk. Oh my God.
That'll be next week's leftover Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes, that's a better way to say it. Thank you, Carter.
You're welcome.
But yeah, that'll do it for this episode of the NordCast. Thank you guys for watching. Maybe Jack will be here the next one, and I will see you guys in the next vid. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening to yet again another episode of the NordCast. If you enjoyed, please subscribe down below or follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you want to follow us on TikTok, we are at NordCast. If you want to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, follow at NordCast_. That'll do it for this episode. I'm Nordic. Thanks for listening from all the crew, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.